Punch it, Chewie! Many out there thought that the Acolyte would be the biggest story of today. Of course, that's the Disney Plus Star Wars live-action show produced by the woman who was the former personal assistant to one Mr. Weinstein, who sits in jail as he should. But the idea that that would be the biggest story flushed away now by a major statement released by George Lucas, praising Bob Iger and using language that is very Disney-esque. Folks, get ready for analysis like you will find nowhere else. It's just beyond the reach of the mental capacities of so many, because we are going to explain it all right now. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. It is, as always, a joy to have you here with us. And boy, do we have a big story for you today. And boy, oh boy, are we ready to break this down in a way that you probably, almost definitely, will not find anywhere else. Why? Well, because the internet currently is flooded with knee-jerk, face value reactions, not understanding what this is. But because you watch this video, you'll understand what is going on as George Lucas switches from calling Disney the white slavers to now, well, the magic. This is by Jill Goldsmith from Deadline. George Lucas comes out in support of Bob Iger. Disney and Proxy battle. Creating magic is not for amateurs. Folks, as we do this, as we read this, note that surely George Lucas, who thought that Disney was the white slavers who came in and destroyed his franchise, surely he would not refer to Disney as the magic as part of his normal discourse. Let's get into the article. George Lucas has come out in support of Disney and CEO Bob Iger as the company wages a bitter proxy fight against activist investor Nelson Peltz, who is making a run for 2 seats on the company's board. In a statement issued this morning, Lucas said, and this is the important part, folks, creating magic is not for amateurs. When I sold Lucasfilm just over a decade ago, I was delighted to become a Disney shareholder because of my longtime admiration for its iconic brand and Bob Iger's leadership. When Bob recently returned to the company during a difficult time, I was relieved. No one knows Disney better. I remain a significant shareholder because I have full faith and confidence in the power of Disney and Bob's track record of driving long-term value. I have voted all my shares for Disney's 12 directors and urge other shareholders to do the same. Now, folks, today I am not here to give you false hope or undue optimism, but rather I would like for us to have an adult conversation. I would like for us to think at the level of grown-ups. Particularly, I would like for us to think at the level of individuals at high executive levels of corporations, those who have great power, those who have great influence, and there is lots and lots and lots of money at stake. Can we all do that for a moment? Is it okay if we all have a grown-up conversation and put on our grown-up hats today? Let's do that. Does anyone find it interesting besides me that George Lucas suddenly loves Bob Iger? Does anybody other than me find it interesting that George Lucas, despite being down on his stock since 2022 by about 45%, that he still thinks that Bob Iger is the man to come in with the plan to save all of this? Does anybody find it interesting that on the very day that Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland prepare to release the Acolyte trailer, that George Lucas is putting out a statement such as this, which will easily overshadow what they are releasing? Does anybody at all find any of that interesting? Does anybody find it interesting that George Lucas is co-opting Disney language like creating magic? That's not the kind of thing that George Lucas usually says in his normal day-to-day language. This actually reads more like a statement that Disney has crafted than something that George Lucas truly said. I'm not claiming that's the case. Perhaps there's some sort of collaborative effort. And folks, although I've got this on the screen now for you to be able to read, I'm not going to read the rest of the article, not because I want to prevent you from knowing what's going on. I highly encourage you to go read the article, but simply because I'd like to give you a deeper analysis than I think you are finding anywhere else. Now, consider this, folks. Many people all over the internet have been posting reactions to this, and they've been saying, ooh, George Lucas backs Bob Iger. This thing's over. George Lucas proven to love Star Wars. George Lucas loves the way that Bob Iger is treating his legacy. And what I would recommend, folks, is that all of you think about this. When a statement such as this is put out in the kind of language that looks like it was curated by Disney, not saying it was, but it looks very much like Disney kind of language, and it matches up with the Disney kind of propaganda or statements or whatever the language, the talking points that Disney has. I mean, think about this. Disney has very much wanted you to believe that Nelson Peltz and Jay Rasulo are amateurs, right? And that they don't know what they're doing. They're not involved in media, despite the fact that Jay Rasulo is their former chief financial officer. That's what they want you to believe. And so, in spite of all the evidence to the contrary, that has been the talking point of Disney to try to get investors to shy away and stay away from Nelson Peltz and Jay Rasulo. But George Lucas would not naturally use that same kind of language because he would not believe that, because it's not believable. It's only believable if you're a company in a political fight to block people off of your board, and so be it. But George Lucas takes that on. Now, what I would say is that much more likely, George Lucas and Disney came to some sort of an agreement. George Lucas and Bob Iger came to some agreement. And why do I say that? Well, I say that because people at this level of influence do not often put out the same talking points as a major corporation unless said corporation is willing to give something in return. Now, you're probably going to hear YouTube channels out there and vlogs and blogs and all those sorts of things giving some kind of statement as to what perhaps George Lucas has cajoled out of Disney. And I'm here to tell you that I don't think that we're going to find that out anytime soon. And I don't think we're going to know that because I think the conversation between these men was probably extraordinarily private and at the highest levels. The chances that you're going to get someone who was privy to the agreements made here behind closed doors where the sausage was made, I think very, very low. I want to bring now in someone who has a tremendous pedigree of knowing how Hollywood works behind closed doors to explain this a little bit better for us all. Welcome back, Mr. Ghost.
Hi, sorry I'm late, and I have no idea. This is news to me.
So what I wanted to bring you in for, Mr. Ghost, is, and we don't normally do this, folks, but let's do this for this video. We need to let you know that although LW Ghost is behind a pseudonym, that he has tremendous decades of work at Hollywood and some of the highest levels and negotiating and working with some of the biggest players out there. And so he brings a tremendous amount of knowledge to what these sorts of things look like. So LW, what I wanted to bring you in for is George Lucas has put out a statement that very much looks like a Disney talking point, right? He's put out a statement that says that creating magic is not for amateurs, and you get the idea on that. My thought on this is that it's very, very unlikely, if you have any kind of mature thinking, that George Lucas just did this out of the goodness of his heart or because he wants Bob Iger to be in control of his shares or anything like that. I am suggesting, although I do not know the details and I have not talked to sources yet because this is just breaking, but I am strongly suggesting that I think that George Lucas probably got something out of this on his side as well. Otherwise, he would not have done this. Well, so I wanted to know from your standpoint, do you think that people at this level often just weigh in this way? Or do you think that there might have been an agreement behind closed doors that, hey, George, if you'll do this for us, we can do this for you?
First of all, you know that old thing about what do you get for a man who has everything?
Yes.
You know,
there's no
Lucas
money can't do this one.
God.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell they did. And I think the only thing that indicates towards there being some kind of something going on is the timing. Look, we know from all of these nasty, silly things that Iger and company have said that they're really desperate and they're really, really, really worried. And and the idea that at this late date, all of a sudden, in comes George to tell you, well, it's not for amateurs. Well, God bless him. That's what he was when he made all of his movies relative to the people in the business, you know.
I've got a theory on this timing. Tell me what you think about it.
Okay, go ahead.
Tell me what you think on this timing. I want to come back to George Lucas, but I don't want to lose the point you just made on the timing. And it's easy for it to slip away from us. I wonder if somebody who is close to counting the vote has let Disney know, hey, this is closer than you guys would like.
Oh,
Because
sure.
we're down to 10 days or so, and they are fighting like mad to try to secure this thing.
Well, yeah, and certainly they would know where they stand. And certainly the fact that one of the things that Peltz has put out, I don't know if you saw his brand new letter that came out last night or yesterday, but he keeps saying, just because you voted the other way doesn't mean you can't change it. It's only your last vote that counts.
I think it's very close, Lou. It's got to be close, or else they would not be acting like it's November 1st in the presidential election.
Down to the wire thing. And,
yes, it's way closer than we would have ever thought. Than I would have thought. All right, so let's talk about what they might give George to get him to put out a statement such as what we have, right? So we know the George Lucas statement matches up so well with the talking points of Disney, and it just stretches any kind of credulity to think that he just so happens to talk in the same way as Disney marketing. But let's play around with it. What would you give George in order to get him to put out this kind of statement and maybe push you over the hump in the ballot votes against Nelson Peltz and Jay Rasulo? Well,
maybe fire KK and bring him back to run Star Wars.
So I don't want to give false hope, but I also want to have a grown-up conversation. And you're exactly right. The man has all the money in the world. What could you give him?
He's got to
give him his legacy back.
He's got to be pretty disgusted with what's happened to his legacy. He just does, because he's a thinking, sentient being, and like all of us, you hate to see your kids go bad. But wow, maybe he believes it. Maybe he just plain believes it. Maybe he thinks,
You think? Come on, Lou. You think that George Lucas goes around talking about Disney magic? He called them the white slavers like 7 years ago.
Well, I don't think he thinks about Disney magic, but maybe they've convinced him that these outsiders are about to ruin things. Maybe he and Rasulo had a bad time over Star Tours.
Maybe I'll grant you all of that. I would just suggest that in order to coax this out of him, I would bet. I mean, I put money on this, although I don't know it for sure. But I would bet somebody somewhere said, "You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours." And I don't know what that means, but I would say that for those out there who are just having these knee-jerk face value reactions to this, you're not thinking at a deep enough level about the way these things work and the way these things happen behind closed doors. Is that fair, Lou?
Yeah. Okay.
You'll go with that, eh?
This statement about I was relieved when Bob came back. I mean,
you think he really cares? He's got more money than
that's what I'm saying. If you think
Scrooge McDuck
meeting all nights as to who's going to run, and I was happy to be a shareholder. Why? Because they paid me a zillion shares to hand them my thing.
Right.
It fascinates me, and it makes me think that I don't know how you buy the guy who has everything, but it's got to be some sort of emotional appeal. And frankly, I mean, look, how old is he now?
I think he's about 80 years old.
Yeah, well, so maybe there's something he wants before he departs.
That's what I suspect.
It can't just be designation as a legend or a plaque in the forecourt of the Dwarf Building. He's probably got all of those and then some. I mean, look, this guy, and I'll tell you what. We're talking Star Wars because we think about him so closely.
Don't forget Indy.
That's what I was about to say. He has got to have been so completely PO'd about what they did to Indy.
Disgusted.
That Bob must have done some pretty fast talk. Oh, it wasn't me. It was those other people. Which he's not a stupid man,
He's not a stupid man. Money's not going to do it. It's funny to me this is coming out when it is, and it's funny to me that it's coming out on the same day that the Acolyte trailer is going to drop. This covers that over.
Yeah,
there's nothing even close to
you're
this.
Right, but the big question is, will it make a difference?
Will it make a difference in terms of the vote?
If you're a mom and pop shareholder, or as I keep saying, not so much individuals, but small pension fund managers and small brokers and people who have their reputation on the line, and the numbers are the numbers and the facts are the facts, and these people are losing money for your people. There's the fact that this guy who has had nothing to do with it other than the fact that he started the ball rolling. I mean, if you think about it, he certainly has no more. We haven't seen Lasseter do this, have we?
Well, it's somewhat.
We haven't seen anybody from the Fox stuff do this. Rupert Murdoch hasn't done it.
It's somewhat, maybe in their minds, fixes the problem where they put out their version of their white papers, and those revealed that Star Wars is performing on ROI according to Disney, not according to us. I mean, we don't believe a lot of these numbers, but that it's performing at something like a third of the ROI of Disney's second most popular girl brand. So that wasn't a good look, and so this might shore up some folks who were dissuaded by that white paper. Don't know, but
it has the odor of mendacity about it.
It has the odor of mendacity. Oh my gosh, yes. Maybe this will save Disney's Fonny. I don't know, but anyway, folks.
I think it's interesting. I think it's fascinating. I think we'll never know exactly what it really is ever that got him to do this, but. When you talk about people who've had nothing nice to say suddenly coming out of the woodworks, what about the kids and the grandkids?
I would suggest maybe one day we'll know. Who knows? Maybe there's a Lucasfilm October surprise just a dream away. Well, Lou, thank you for hopping in today to help us navigate this. I would just suggest.
I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner, but I don't know that I would have anything else to contribute other than is a puzzlement. And we'll probably never know. And like I say, the big question is, will this actually sway votes?
Right. Well, there are some takeaways for folks out there. The vote must be very close for them to continue doing this all the way down to the deadline.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then also, folks, come on, let's all be grown-ups. The chances of someone putting out a statement like this and there being something in return, very high. That's what I would say. Who knows, though? You might be right. Maybe Jay Rusulo stepped on his toes one time. Maybe Nelson Peltz was at a party once and took a drink out of his wine glass on accident.
You never know. I tell you one thing about this business: people hold grudges. People hold grudges over decades. And they can be great artists and not brilliant businessmen. Who knows? And they can be great creators and not be oblivious to other issues, because it's like, I'm doing my thing and you guys are doing your thing, and oh yeah, sure, fine, here you go. Who knows? Well, I'm sorry to be so speculative, as we always say, but we'll never know. Is the answer. No. And by the way, I would be willing to say one thing. If Iger called George and said, George, we just need a little push to put us over the top and we're going to win. If Iger doesn't win, George will never talk to him again because he encouraged him to back a loser.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's publicly humiliating for him. If even the great God of the universe couldn't sway it, it wasn't going to be swayed. Who knows?
That's right.
I mean, I've said when the Elton Rasula said, we don't have any reason to fire Bob. And I never had a crossword with him, and we want to work with him. If they win, he's got to quit on his own. He's got to pull some medical reason out and go away, because it will be such a complete repudiation and humiliation of him because he's made it so personal.
At this point, yes.
This is very personal too, isn't it? This is biggest. This is, I mean, Value Act and all these other people, big deal. But when George Lucas says, vote this way, and people say, we loved your baby, we don't anymore, thanks a lot, goodbye, that's kind of a slap in the face. Maybe he doesn't care about that anymore either, but I don't know.
It might point us to the idea that you can have grudges in Hollywood.
Oh, boy.
Perhaps Hollywood should not have grudges with fandoms, because that does not go well over time. All right, folks.
That's a good place to stick.
That's right. Folks, it's your turn now. Like, share, subscribe. Click it, stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And boy, oh boy, do we have Star Wars news coming at us today. We will have live reaction to the Acolyte trailer when that hits, if it hits during the Pro Show today. You don't want to miss that. We'll also talk more about this George Lucas situation. We have guests that have rarely appeared on the show who will be making an appearance today, and we cannot wait to have you there as well.
I'll be there.
That's right. You, Ghost, and you, whoever you might be out there watching.
And you were there, and you were there, and some of it was beautiful, and some of it was very... But in the end, we were all there.
That's right. You like me. You really like me.
That too,
right, folks?
yes.
Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
My brain is fried and I can't think of things to do to people, like Jonas or Culture. I mean, leaving them in this place of what's next is ideal and all, but other than going to an extreme that would rip them limb from limb or something, I got nothing. Jose, what do you think?
My name's Jose. We could reenact the chase scene with that Greg from Kocho Casino Royale.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
Okay, we could reattempt to cook Jonas like a big fish on the island of the Clone Wars. Or is that too redundant?
Why don't you try talking slower and louder? I said investigate.
Where were you keeping that?
You guys could do that.
Is that
or you could go to that part. Ow! Oh, my head. Why'd you do that, man? You guys are insane. Oh, I'm out of here.
Jose, I think deep down, we really understand each other. Or not. I know. I need one of those White House translators like for Joe Biden. That'll help me with him. Perfect. Well, maybe you can get them on eBay or something.